When driving on an interstate. A. Stop on the shoulder of the road if you are tired. B. You should always use cruise control. C. Signal, check mirrors, and check blind spots before changing lanes. D. You should change lanes often. C. Signal, check mirrors, and check blind spots before changing lanes. Signal, check your mirrors, and check your blind spot before changing lanes or passing on an interstate. Only stop on the shoulder of the interstate in the case of an emergency and change lanes as infrequently as possible. Cruise control should not be used in heavy traffic or under poor weather conditions. When stopped for a traffic violation or at an equipment check, the driver must produce A. Proof of insurance. B. Their license. C. Proof of registration. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When stopped for a traffic violation or at an equipment check, the driver is responsible for producing their license, proof of registration, and proof of insurance. Drivers are required to have all three of these documents in a vehicle when it is being driven. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. B. May no longer turn and must proceed straight. C. Still have the right of way to turn. D. No longer have to turn in the direction that the arrow indicated. A. May still turn, but you must yield to oncoming traffic. If a green arrow turns into a solid green light, you may still turn in the direction that the arrow was pointing, but you must first yield to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. An orange triangle with red borders positioned on the rear of a vehicle means the vehicle is A. A slow-moving vehicle. B. Broken. C. A school bus. D. An ambulance. A. A slow-moving vehicle. An orange, triangular sign with red borders indicates that a vehicle is a slow-moving vehicle. Drivers near a vehicle marked with this symbol should not expect the slow-moving vehicle to exceed a speed of 25 miles per hour.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
On slippery roads, you should A. Slow down. B. Drive more quickly. C. Drive the speed limit, with caution. D. Not drive more quickly than 20 miles per hour. A. Slow down. You should slow down at the first sign of rain, snow, or sleet, all of which can create slippery road conditions. When conditions on the road are less than ideal, safety may require that you drive more slowly than the posted speed limit. When changing lanes on a multi-lane roadway, you should A. Honk your horn to let drivers behind you know you might not be able to see them. B. Slow down to shrink your blind spot. C. Look in your mirrors before staring straight ahead. D. None of these. D. None of these. Before changing lanes on a multi-lane roadway, you should check your mirrors and blind spots. Check your blind spot by looking over your shoulder in the direction that you are moving. If someone is driving aggressively behind you, you should A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. B. Stare at the driver as he or she is passing you. C. Speed up as he or she is passing you. D. Block the passing lane. A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. If you encounter an aggressive driver, you should make every attempt to get out of their way. You should avoid making eye contact with a hostile driver. Challenging a hostile driver by speeding up may only make them angrier, thereby increasing their danger. The speed limit on most Alaskan roadways is A. 45 miles per hour. B. 60 miles per hour. C. 50 miles per hour. D. 55 miles per hour. D. 55 miles per hour. Business districts, alleys, school zones, and residential districts have their own specific speed limits. All other roadways in Alaska have a 55 miles per hour maximum speed limit, unless otherwise posted. A solid white line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. White lines are used to separate traffic moving in the same direction. Solid lines indicate that drivers are not permitted to pass. If two vehicles approach an unmarked intersection at the same time, A. The driver on the right must yield to the driver on the left. B. Both drivers should accelerate. C. The driver on the left must yield to the driver on the right. D. One driver should insist on the right-of-way. C. The driver on the left must yield to the driver on the right. If two vehicles arrive to an unmarked intersection at the same time, the driver on the left must yield the right-of-way to the driver on the right. No driver should assume that they will be given the right-of-way. This sign means A. Stop. B. Side road. C. Two-way left turn. D. Farm machinery. A. Stop. 8-sided traffic signs warn drivers that they must stop and yield the appropriate right-of-way at an intersection. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. A single dashed white line on a multi-lane road means A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions. B. Passing is permitted into a lane directly next to the dashed white line. C. Passing is prohibited. D. None of these. B. Passing is permitted into a lane directly next to the dashed white line. Single dashed lines separate lanes of travel where changing lanes is not restricted. White lines separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. This road sign means A. Intersection ahead. B. Steep grade ahead. C. Winding road. D. Merging traffic. B. Steep grade ahead. This sign indicates that a steep downhill grade is ahead. This road sign indicates A. The maximum safe speed for a residential area. B. The maximum safe speed for an expressway exit. C. The maximum safe speed for an expressway entrance. D. The maximum safe speed for a work zone. B. The maximum safe speed for an expressway exit. This advisory speed sign indicates the maximum safe speed for a highway exit, in this example, 30 miles per hour. Highway hypnosis is a driving condition that can result from a. Staring at the roadway for long periods of time. b. Frequent rest stops. c. Too much sleep the night before your trip. d. Short trips on expressways. a. Staring at the roadway for long periods of time. Highway hypnosis happens when you stare straight ahead at the roadway for long periods of time and stop actively scanning ahead, behind, and around your vehicle. This can lead you to zone out, making you very likely to crash into traffic slowing or stopping ahead of you. An approaching emergency vehicle is using its siren. You must a. Slow down and drive with caution. b. Stop where you are. c. Drive to the nearest intersection and stop. d. Pull over to the side of the road and stop, clear of any intersection. d. Pull over to the side of the road and stop, clear of any intersection. Upon the approach of an emergency vehicle that is using its siren, traffic must yield the right-of-way by pulling to the side of the street and stopping. Drivers should remain in that position until the emergency vehicle has passed. A driver who is taking a non-prescription drug should a. Read the labels on the drug before driving. b. Drink alcohol instead. c. Continue to drive regardless of any warning labels. d. Drive only during daylight hours. a. Read the labels on the drug before driving. Many over-the-counter medications can affect your ability to drive safely. If you take medication, even a remedy for colds or allergies that is not prescribed, check the label for warnings about its effects. If you are unsure, ask your doctor or pharmacist about driving while on the medication. The first thing affected after drinking alcohol is a person's a. Vision. b. Balance. c. Speech. d. Judgment. d. Judgment. The consumption of alcohol first affects the portion of the brain that controls a person's judgment. Your judgment must remain intact for you to be a safe driver. You cannot be a safe driver after consuming alcohol. What is a no zone? a. A designated no-passing zone. b. A one-way traffic area. c. The blind spot of a large vehicle. d. An area designated for motor vehicles. c. The blind spot of a large vehicle. No zones are the large blind spots around trucks and other large vehicles. Drivers of smaller vehicles should avoid lingering in no zones. When a stop is required at an intersection and no markings appear to indicate a stop line or crosswalk, a driver a. Is not required to stop. b. Is required to slow down to make sure crossing traffic is clear. c. Should stop only at a place where they can see at least 200 feet on either side, even if they have to enter the intersecting roadway. d. Should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. d. Should stop where they have a clear view of approaching traffic before they enter the intersecting roadway. If there is no stop line or crosswalk, you should stop at the point nearest to the intersecting roadway where you can get a view of approaching traffic. You should not enter the intersecting roadway to gain a better view.